Good morning, students. So we will continue with the previous chapter, that is tissues. So in the last chapter we discussed about simple permanent tissues. So now today we will discuss about complex permanent tissues. I told you that there are two types of tissues. One is meristematic tissue and another is permanent tissue. And permanent tissue is of two types: simple permanent tissue and complex permanent tissue. So simple permanent tissue we already discussed in the last class. So today we will discuss about complex permanent tissue. Now children, the simple whatever tissues we have discussed till now, whether the meristematic tissue or the simple permanent tissue, all were made up of only one type of cells. If you see parenchyma, if you see chlorenchyma, sclerenchyma, they all were having same cells, one type of cells, okay, which look similar, okay, and such type of tissues are called as simple permanent tissues. In sclerenchyma also you see one type of cells were there, in chlorenchyma also, parenchyma also, so they all were simple permanent tissue. But now we will study about complex permanent tissue, and this tissue is made up of more than one type of cells, okay. It is made up of more than one type of cells, and all these cells, they coordinate, or you can say they work together to perform a common function. Example is xylem and phloem. Xylem and phloem together are called as vascular bundles. The function of xylem is to conduct water from the soil to the aerial parts of the plant, and the function of phloem is to transfer food manufactured by the leaf to different parts of the plant. So they are also called as conducting tissues. Children, xylem, you can see the image also to have a better understanding, because diagrams are given in the images. Now students, xylem is made up of four different types of cells, that is tracheids, vessels, xylem parenchyma and xylem fibers. Now children, these tracheids and vessels, they have thick wall. Now I have told you at the beginning, thick wall, if any cell is having thick wall, means the cell is dead. Understood? Now these tracheids and xylem, they have the thick walls and they are generally dead. When they mature, initially they are when they are young, whereas they are living, but as they grow up, they mature, there is a deposition of some material in the walls, they become dead. So, and tracheids and vessels, they are tubular structures, they are tube-like structure. Why? So that which allows them to transport water and minerals vertically up. So it is easier now in the tube, the water can go easily. So that is why they are vertical. They are tubular in shape. Children, I told you before, what is the function of parenchyma? It stores food. So here also xylem parenchyma, it will store the food, because as you know that all the living organisms need food, all the cells need food. So even in the xylem parenchyma, it stores food. And xylem fibers, the fibers, they are also generally dead. So they are supportive in function. I hope everyone has understood this thing. Okay, now this was about xylem, which is made up of four different types of cells. Now we come to phloem. Children, phloem is made up of five types of cells. That is sieve cells, sieve tubes, companion cells, phloem fibers and phloem parenchyma. So it is made up of five types of cells. Now children, phloem parenchyma, it is parenchyma means here the phloem parenchyma, it stores food. Okay, now here also sieve tubes, they are tubular and with perforated walls. This is the phloem. Okay, now what is the function of phloem? It transports food from leaf to other parts of the plant. Now in phloem, all the cells are living except phloem fibers. What is the function of fibers? Phloem fibers, they are supportive in nature. So only the phloem fibers are dead and all the cells are living. I hope all of you have understood this thing. So these were the two important types of tissues, that is xylem and phloem. These are the complex tissues, and before that we studied about the simple tissues. Now children, these complex tissues are present in the plants. Are they present in animals also? Can you find phloem and xylem in animals also? Xylem and phloem together, it forms the vascular bundle. But why you cannot find these vascular bundles or the xylem or phloem in animals? Why it is found only in plants? Any one of you can answer this simple question? Why it is found only in animals? Plants? Because I have told you in the beginning also that the functions of animals are different. Animals and plants, they totally differ in functions. Plants are stationary, animals are moving. Plants, animals have a uniform growth. So because they differ in functions, means they differ in the structure and shape of the cells also. So since if they differ in the structure and shape of the cells, they differ in the tissues also. Okay. So these tissues are present in the plants, but they are not present in the animals, and the animal tissues are not present in the plant because the functions are different. The animal's shape and structure is also different. That is why. Now children, I told you, as you know, that the body of all the living organism is made up of cells. Okay, whether it's a microorganism, whether it's a multicellular, whether it is a simple multicellular, but it is made up of cells. Now, even in the animal, now we will study about animal tissues. Now, even the animal tissues. Now, in humans, in animals, I will say rather, in animals there are large number of different types of cells. Okay, all the cells are not similar. So these cells, when the group of these cells, okay, it forms tissue. So since there are different type of cells, there are different types of tissues also, and so there are different types of organs also. So animal tissue, the first is different. I told you different types of tissues are there. So one is epithelial tissue. What is epithelial tissue? In epithelia, it is present in the epithelia. Now epithelial tissue, actually it is protective in nature. Okay, and it forms the covering. Protective in nature means generally it forms the lining of some of the organs, and it also forms the covering of various organs. Now if this tissue is epithelial tissue, if it forms the covering of organs, what does it mean? Due to the formation of covering over the organs, or due to its protective function, what happens? The organs are separate from each other. Different organs of the body are separate from each other because it forms the covering of various organs and also of the cavities. Cavities, you understand that if cavity is formed, then the walls of the cavity, where it is present, where the epithelia is present, on the inner walls of the cavity. I hope everyone has understood this thing. Now children, where it present? It is present in the skin. It is protective in function, I told you, and it forms the covering. So it is present in skin. It is also present in the lining of the mouth. Okay. What is present? Animal tissue. Okay. And it is also present in the blood vessels. Where in the blood vessels it is present? The lining of the blood vessels. It is also present in the lungs alveoli. Animal tissue is also present in the lungs alveoli and also the kidney tubules. Everyone has understood? So now children, there are different types of animal tissues. Blood is also a tissue. Muscle is also a tissue which is made up of different types of muscle cells. Nervous tissue is also one kind of tissue which is made up of nerve cells. So same way there is the epithelial tissue also, and this epithelial tissue, it forms the epithelia, or it is protective in function. Now children, in the epithelium tissue, what happens? The cells are tightly packed. Okay, the space between the cells is not present, as you have seen. Where you have seen that the spaces are present between the cells? Can any one of you tell me in which tissue you have seen the space between the cells are present? Okay, now In epithelial tissue, cells are tightly packed. Now, when the cells are tightly packed, they form a continuous sheet. Okay? They are not broken, but they form a continuous sheet, and there is no intercellular space. There is no space between the cells. Why there is no space between the cells? Can any one of you tell me? Why in an epithelial tissue, why there is no space between the cells? There is no space between the cells. Why? Because they are tightly packed. That is why there is no space, and it can form a continuous sheet. Now, children, now these cells, which cells? The cells of the epithelial tissue, below they have one membrane-like structure. They are forming a cells. You imagine the cells are very much tightly packed. Okay, in the epithelial tissue, if you can, epithelial tissue is present in the skin also. So in the skin, let us say the cells are tightly packed. No intercellular space is there. But in these cells, the cells which are together, which is forming a continuous sheet, the below these cells is present one membrane. Okay, and which is called as a basement membrane. And if this membrane is present, what happens? This membrane separates this epithelial tissue from rest of the underlying tissue, because many other tissues are also present. This is the tissue which is present on the surface. It's protective in nature. So that basement membrane is present below the cells, as all the cells are together, tightly packed. Now when all the cells are tightly packed, it is forming a sheet. Just at the basement of this continuous sheet, or the basement of the cells, one membrane is present, which is also called as basement membrane. And this membrane, it separates this epithelial tissue from rest of the underlying tissue. I hope all of you have understood. So children, today we will do this much only, and rest we will do in the next class. But since these things are new to you, I want all of you to revise. Okay, whatever is explained to you in the class, first homework is this, that you have to revise it. Okay, you have to read it on your own. Now after hearing the audio, time is left. So whatever is explained to you, you will revise. Not only that, you revise from the beginning. Okay, so that you are thorough with the things, because here you have to learn the characteristics of different types of cells, what are the characteristics of sclerenchyma, what are the characteristics of parenchyma. So just after hearing the audio, revise from the beginning till complex tissues. Then I have given you one assignment, do that assignment. Okay, and so utilize the time in this way. I hope it's clear to you, and if any one of you have doubt, you can clarify it now also, because time is there. Okay, if anyone has any doubt, please clarify from chapter 2, from chapter tissues, on tissues. Any doubt if you have, you can clarify. Okay students, thank you.